Welcome everybody to another QB Power Hour. Thank you for joining us today. We're going to be talking about Excel tips and tricks for accountants and QuickBooks consultants, and this is part one. So thank you for joining me today. I know it's busy season, so we're going to keep it rolling and get right into the nitty-gritty. So thank you for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule. My name is Michelle Long. I'm a CPA and glad to have you joining us today. I'm also an author, speaker, all that stuff. You know all about me, as well as Hector Garcia. He's a CPA as well down in sunny Miami, Florida. He's going to be covering a lot of the Excel stuff today. I know a lot of you have asked and wanted more on this topic, so we're giving it to you. So we'll quickly go through a little detail about QB Power Hour, the CPE process, just a couple of announcements, and then we're going to get right into our topics where we're going to be talking about Excel today. You guys are going to love this. We've got a fabulous guest speaker lined up for you as well. So quickly, just to remind you about QB Power Hour, it's every other Thursday, so every 2 weeks. We cover tips and tricks, usually about QuickBooks Desktop and QuickBooks Online, but we had a lot of requests for more in Excel, so we're covering that for you today. And we do have a special guest with us today that you're going to be glad you joined us to hear this. Also, we just wanted to make a quick mention. The primary sponsors for QB Power Hour are my company, Long for Success, and Hector's company, Quick Bookkeeping and Accounting. And occasionally we do have other vetted sponsors from third-party developers or other guest speakers and things like that. Intuit is not official, this isn't officially sponsored by Intuit or anything like that, although we do like to have Intuit on as a guest speaker and to cover updates on QuickBooks and things like that. For the CPE process, for those of you that are a CPA or a certified bookkeeper and you need CPE credit, remember that's only available when you attend live. If you're watching this recording on YouTube, you cannot get CPE credit for it. You have to be logged in for at least 15 minutes. When the CPE keyword comes up, you'll want to write that down on a piece of paper, and then later you'll have a poll question, and you will answer that with the CPE keyword. And normally the CPE certificates are about 3 weeks, but right now, because it is busy season, it's taken about 4 weeks to get those CPE certificates. So just be patient right now during busy season and know that you will get those hopefully in the next week or so. But just be patient. A couple of upcoming events. The Ultimate Accounting VCon, Sandy Smith-Leva and I, our 4th award-winning VCon is coming up in May. If you register today, we're having a 50% off special pricing. It was supposed to end yesterday, and I asked Sandy if she could extend that until today to give you guys an opportunity. It's only $99 for a 2-day conference, so I'd love it to have you join us. There's already hundreds of people registered. Love to have you join us, and that's at accountingvcon.com. And again, that's going to end in a few hours probably. Scaling New Heights was coming up in June. Hector and I would love to see you joining us at that, as well as the QuickBooks Connect Conference in San Jose, California. That promises to be another great event this year. And SleaterCon coming up in November in Las Vegas as well. Those are great conferences for people who specialize in QuickBooks and want to learn a lot more about our industry. Love to have you join us for any of those great events. Hector, you want to go ahead and take it from here?
Sure, absolutely. Go ahead and make me presenter.
I'm doing that now, and okay. There you go.
Welcome, everybody. First of all, thank you for making it during tax season. I know a lot of you guys are accountants and tax preparers, and it really, and this is a tough time, but thank you for joining us. So today we're going to talk about why do accountants and QuickBooks Power users need Excel skills. That's sort of the primary theme about this entire hour. So we're going to talk about some of the sort of my 2 cents about where is the value on an accountant and a QuickBooks Power user on learning Excel or getting deeper and deeper into Excel. Then we're going to bring in our guest speaker, Jeff Lenning, who's absolutely fantastic, very deep in the accountant Excel world. And we'll just talk about 3 important features, text to columns, Concatenate, and Flashfill. And he'll tell us a little bit about his learning system and where you can contact him directly and find some awesome Excel resources that are out there. Then I'll talk about my favorite Excel add-ons. So things that we add on top of Excel, other applications, some you pay for, some are free, that really increase productivity or at least increase my efficiency over time. And then timing permit, at the very end, we'll do a couple of tips on importing Excel data into QuickBooks once we've done all the Excel manipulation that we have to do. All right, so let's do a polling question first. I want to get an idea for the type of users that we have here in Excel. So I'm launching a polling question. I appreciate the answer. So basically, I want to know if you use Excel as part of your regular practice, and if you do, is it something that you actually charge money for, or something that you actually make billable? Whether you don't use Excel at all, or whether you would like to add some more Excel skills into your practice. So we'd love to get all your answers on that. We have about 75% of the votes in, so we'll give it maybe another 30 seconds or so. So far, 80% of the votes are in. We're about almost 50-50 on yes, you actually use Excel as part of your practice, but about half of you actually make it billable, and some don't make it billable. It's just sort of internal work. So that's actually pretty interesting. I'm going to go ahead and close the poll. We have about almost 90% of the votes in. I'll close the poll and share the results with you so you guys can see that. So it looks like and there's almost 300 people attending live right now, so that will give you sort of an idea of the volume of Excel users that are in here. So that's actually great. I'm actually really glad to hear that you guys are Excel users. Okay, so this is going to be the keyword question for today, beach. Beach is where I would like to be on April 16th, although there's a QB Power Hour that day. So April 17th, it's going to be the day that I hit the beach. That's what I want to do right after tax season. So write down the keyword beach, because it's going to come up somewhere later on in the webinar. So going once, going twice, sold. All right. So let's talk about why I think that QuickBooks Power users and accountants get a lot from learning Excel skills or improving the Excel skills. One is probably the most common thing that I'm doing nowadays, or at least the largest chunk of the big consulting work. It's helping clients migrate from other systems. So there's a lot of accounting systems that don't convert to QuickBooks. However, I would say 90% of them have the ability to extract or export the information into some sort of Excel or CSV. So if you really know how to tweak that information in Excel, it is highly likely that you'll be able to import it. The thing is that every accounting system exports the information separately, and it's not clean. Sometimes you have to clean the data, add fields, remove characters. This is where the Excel skills really come in, and that information needs to be really precise, and needs to be in a specific format for QuickBooks to take it on. Also, another very common thing is helping clients do massive changes to the item list. So I live in Miami. For some of you that don't know me, I live in Miami and work in Miami, and the mecca of wholesale distributor import-export businesses is down here. And I would find myself probably 9 times out of 10 doing something with an item list. So either helping somebody bring in a new product list from their new vendors, or updating prices, or updating descriptions, adding descriptions, changing costs. These are things that I'm doing all the time. And I really couldn't do that and make it billable, of course, if I wasn't really keen in Excel. And the last important thing is if you are into importing bank transactions, or using bank feeds, and using different tools that are out there to convert Excel to QuickBooks in a batch enter or in a bank feed format, cleaning up in Excel would really increase your productivity, especially during tax time, because nowadays what used to take the longest during tax time is doing all the write-up work, all the accounting for the companies, 12 months worth of transactions and stuff like that. Nowadays, with our Excel skills in our firm and the tools are out there, that is no longer the biggest thing. The biggest thing is actually getting the information from the client. So these are the 4 most important reasons why I think accountants and QuickBooks Power users need or would benefit from Excel skills. The other important piece about this is the combined rates for a skilled person that knows both QuickBooks and Excel seem to be, let me turn off my webcam because we had some performance issues here, seem to be a lot less price sensitive. So I've noticed that the normal rates for QuickBooks advisors and accountants are probably below 150, but going above that is really not such a big problem with when you have combined Excel and QuickBooks skills, because a lot of people just don't want to do it. A lot of people just don't want to go through cleaning up tons of Excel transactions or cleaning up all these different types of errors and adjustments in Excel. So typically, I haven't had any complaint having much higher rates. Also, when you value price conversions, like for example, the client gives you a bunch of data in Excel and says, you know what, just convert it to QuickBooks, let me know when it's done. I found that you can really go high to $250, $300 an hour because you're doing it all behind the scenes really fast, and the client at the end pays for the fully converted work. So I think this is a skill that will combine QuickBooks and Excel skills, really increase the value of a consultant. All right. I also wanted to, we shared the slides. I put it in the chat down here. We shared the slides because there's a lot of videos, a lot of links, a lot of tips here and there that require you to click on something. So we shared the slides, download them. These are some great video resources of videos that I made myself. I have a video on changing inventory items to non-inventory items. It's something that we have to do in Excel, so check out the video. And then I talk about comparing batch enter and bank feeds, which either way you end up doing some work in Excel. And then add, edit multiple, great feature. I have a video on that, and also on going from bank straight into QuickBooks. So check out those 4 videos. They're usually less than 20 minutes each. So we'll make those available in the slides. All right, so without further ado, let me go ahead and make Jeff Lenning our presenter, who's going to cover these 3 really important tools. So Jeff, are you on? Let me just make sure your audio is on. Are you on?
Sure, I am here, man. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Let me make you presenter. And I think you should be presenter now. Let me see. I'll give you some feedback if I can see your slides, which I can't see them yet. Can you?
It doesn't show the share my screen button.
Okay, it should be switching over now. I'll make you. Let's see if making you organizer works better. It's not working for me. Michelle, can you try to see if you can try to make him presenter or make him organizer? For some reason, I'm clicking on it, and it's really not.
I will do that. Okay.
Yeah,
there, that's what I'm used to seeing here.
There you go.
All right, thank you. All right, how's that? Is that coming through?
Yes,
no,
now we can see it.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, well, thank you, Hector. And hey, everyone, it's a pleasure to be here with you today. And I get about 15 minutes or so to talk with you about my very most favorite program in the whole world, Microsoft Excel. I want to streamline through my background so we can spend the most time in Excel. I started my career at Arthur Andersen in the Orange County, California office, where I worked with a lot of smart and ethical CPAs. It was a good firm, a good experience, and I deeply value my time there. I then headed into industry, where I was a senior financial analyst at Gateway. And it was there where I was able to use my Excel skills, because at Andersen everything I did was done according to the DILY method, D-I-L-L-Y. Are you familiar with that? Do it like last year? Yeah. So I'd kind of crank through my work program steps and move along. But in industry, Excel quickly became my secret weapon. Then I headed out to the West Coast, where I was the accounting manager for a public biotech firm, and ultimately I started Click Consulting back in 2000. And so I'm an author of a couple of Excel books, which I'll be talking about as we proceed, but I want to really dig into the content. So as Hector mentioned, there's Excel tasks that help us clean up and prepare data for importing and exporting from different systems. And so in Excel University Volume 3, I really go into great details about it. So I've kind of handpicked out a few of the topics from Excel University Volume 3 to talk with you about. And one is how do we join columns, multiple columns, get exported from one system and they're in separate columns? How do we get those together for preparation and importing into the next system? and then the reverse of that, which is splitting columns. So we export something from our web-based CRM system, and we need to split names, split accounts into sub-accounts. How do we split things? So we'll talk about that. And those first two topics, we're going to use Excel features and functions that have been around in virtually all Excel versions all the way back to like 97 or something. But if you're fortunate enough to have been migrated over to Excel 2013, then there's an alternative to both of those, which is super fast and actually really super fun, called Flashfill. So I can't wait to show you that. The Excel files and the PowerPoints are all available at my website, exceluniversity.com/QBPowerHour, and I put the link on the bottom of this slide. And let me just pop over there so you can make sure you're in the right spot. So this would be the slide deck for today's session, along with the sample Excel file. So once you're here, you can grab the Excel workbook if you'd like to work along as we proceed here today. That would be great. And then there's the PDF file, which has all the information. Let me pop back over here and talk about the Excel topics, and then I'm going to flip over to Excel. How do we join columns? There's a feature in Excel. There's a function in Excel called the Concatenate function. So we'll use a formula where we write the Concatenate function equals Concatenate to join the columns. To split the columns, we're actually going to use a feature of Excel called text to columns, and it allows us to split up columns based on a delimiter, such as you know, a comma or space or colon. And then we'll talk about the Flashfill, which is an alternative to both of those. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the data preparation workbook, which is available for download at that link. And let me head over here. All right. Well, let's go ahead and take a look through these three tabs. The first one is called Split Columns. And what I've done here for illustration purposes is I've exported a, this is an item list from QuickBooks. And what happens is we get the status, type, item, and description, and that's great. But then the account comes to us in a single column. And the idea is that we want to split this into separate columns. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in a little bit so it's easier to see. And I'm going to scroll over. And we can see that there is a delimiter, okay, which is a little colon. And the delimiter is what we're going to use as the way to tell Excel which columns to place these values into. And the way that we're going to do this is we're going to use a feature called text to columns. So what we do is we simply highlight the entire column. And you know, in Excel, it seems like there's like, I don't know, 3 ways to accomplish any task. And one way to select this entire column is to just use your mouse and click and drag, and that would be fine. But I've discovered over the years it's more efficient to use this little keyboard shortcut, which is it's all based on the arrow keys. Arrow keys move one cell, you know, at a time, no big deal. But when I hold the Control and Shift key down, Control and Shift, and hold those down, and then hit the down arrow, Excel grabs all of the cells in that column, and it goes all the way down the long list until it hits a blank cell. And so that's a really quick way to grab an entire column instead of reaching for the mouse. So once we have our column selected, then we can use text to columns. That's under the Data ribbon tab and text to columns. And this opens up a 3-step wizard. And step 1, Excel is asking us, Jeff, is there some kind of delimiter or is there a character that I can use to know where the column breaks are? And Excel is great and very accurate when there is some type of delimiter. If there's not, it's okay. We can choose fixed width, and what happens here is we manually define the column breaks. But in our case, we're lucky because there is a colon delimiter that separates accounts and sub-accounts. So I'm going to select delimited, and then I'm going to hit next. On the next screen of the wizard, Excel says, okay, Jeff, I see you've told me that there's a delimiter. What is it? What's the character? Is it a tab? No, it's not a tab. Is it a semicolon? No. Comma? No. Space? No. It's an other. And our other is a colon. So as soon as we type that colon in, Excel's data preview window shows us a vertical bar where the column breaks are. And you can see before I typed in the colon, Excel didn't know where the column breaks are. I type in the colon, and then Excel gives me this visual indicator saying, okay, I've got it. And once we have properly set the delimiter, we hit next. And on this third step, it gives us the ability to set up some advanced things. For example, we can set the data type. If we're trying to split dates, we can say what is the date format. We can skip selected columns. So there's some advanced things we can do here as well. But for now, we're just going to hit finish. And just like that, Excel has split our single account column into the three related columns. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo that, and I'll do that one more time. I first select all cells. I used Control-Shift and down arrow. Then I went to Data, Text to Columns. I told Excel I'm using a delimited list. That means there's a character. I hit Next. I define what the delimiter is, and I tell Excel it's a colon. I visually verify that the vertical bar is set, and I hit Next and Finish. And now Excel has split that single column into multiple columns. So that was step one, and let me pop open this questions box. Okay, now I can see that. All right, so any questions on that, shoot them into the box, and I'll answer them as we go. And then what I'll do is then I'm going to go ahead and move to the next one.
I'll monitor the questions for you if you don't mind. So yeah, one person had asked if you have ever used something called QODVC to load items from QuickBooks straight into Excel. Are you familiar with that, Jeff, with doing that?
I am familiar with that, and I have used it. It's basically a third-party utility. It's a driver that allows Excel to talk to a QuickBooks data file directly. So performance historically can sometimes be an issue if the QuickBooks data file is large, but I know that they've been working on some caching and some other performance issues. But generally speaking, it's a decent tool. So yeah, thanks for the question. And definitely shoot in all your questions as we go, and I'll hear from Hector when.
There was another question, Jeff. Something about the columns having to be blank. So I think they're referring to those blank columns you inserted right before you did the text to columns. Can you explain that one?
Yeah, when I'm doing a text to columns, it's assuming that the columns to the right are empty. Otherwise, it's going to replace those values. So it works best when the columns just to the right of the column you're going to split those are blank. Now let's go to the next one. The next one is just the exact opposite of that. We export some data from some accounting system, some ERP, CRM system, some database. Everything is in its own column. We need to combine it so that we can prepare it for use for the next step, which is maybe to import it into QuickBooks. So what we're going to do is we're going to go with combining. Now, there is a thing in Excel called concatenation, and there's a couple ways to do it. One is to use the concatenate function, equals concatenate. And that is one way. And the concatenate function returns a combined text string based on its arguments. The first argument is the first thing we want to join, B10, and then we do a comma, right? Because commas separate function arguments in Excel. And then to that, we want to join the subaccount in C10, comma, and to that we want to join the value that's in D10. Close the function, and before I hit enter, let's review. I'm asking Excel to join the values from B10, C10, and D10 using the concatenate worksheet function. Enter. Okay, we got close. Let me reposition this a little bit so I can see a little bit better and zoom in. Now here we got close, but I'm missing the colon, the separator, the delimiter. So that's no problem. Let's just go back and edit our formula, and we're going to add a couple of new arguments in here. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add the colon. But here's the trick in Excel. I've got to surround that colon with some quotes, because that's actually, in Excel, it's a text string. So I need to throw some quotes around that delimiter. All right, so now I'm going to join the value in B10, and then I'm going to join a colon, and then I'm going to join D10, and then I need another colon, and then I'm going to join the value in D10. Okay, so now there's 5 function arguments. Enter. Yes, it worked. And now if I look, I can see I have those values combined. And then what I can do is I can fill this formula down. Let me go ahead and click and drag. Click and drag. And we got it all the way down. Okay, and so that is the idea of combining. Let me do this one more time. But this time I'm going to show an alternative, which is instead of using the concatenate function, we can use the concatenation operator. What do you mean, operator? Yeah, you know, Excel has lots of operators. Like, you're familiar with the plus, the addition operator, the minus, which is the subtraction operator. There's also the ampersand, which is the concatenation operator. And it does the same thing as the concatenate function. It's just a little different format. So which one is better? Either. They both accomplish the same thing. So it's really just personal preference.
Hey, Jeff, you might make that font a little bit bigger. I had some people saying that they wanted that font to be a little bit bigger when you're doing the formula. There we go. Thank you.
You got it, man. And then we go with a colon and then a colon. Enter. And we should be able to fill it down. And then I think we got it. All right. So that is another way to do concatenation. Let me scroll this down. And now, what if you're thinking this? Jeff, look, text to columns with that 3-step wizard seems like it's a lot of steps. Concatenation formulas just seems confusing with the function argument. Is there an easier way? Yes, there is an easier way. And it was introduced beginning with Excel 2013. And it is called the Flashfill feature. So if you happen to be using Excel 2013, check this out. This is so much better. Here, we've exported a bunch of, this looks like some people with some cities and states, and this came from one system, and we need to upload it. The problem is, the name column, it came to us combined. We need to split it out into first and last. So here's what we do. All we do is we give Excel the first one in the pattern. The first one in the pattern is Brandon. Brandon is the first name. So I just give it the first one. And then I just hit Data, Flashfill, and Excel detects the pattern and fills that pattern down. And the crowd goes wild. I know, I can really sense your enthusiasm. I really can. All right, so let's see how we do that one more time. We just type in the one that we want. This is the first one in the pattern. Then we just flash fill it down. We got it. Boom. Last name, same thing. Type in the first one, flash fill it down. Boom. It detects the pattern. Now, I've thrown a lot of patterns at this flash fill feature, and I will tell you this. It's really good at the basics. You know, where we have a delimiter, there's an easy pattern. I can trick it out and mess it up if we throw some complex patterns in, but all the basics are totally bulletproof. And what about this one, the address? The first example here, we split, but now we need to combine. So how do we combine? We just type the first one in, 123 Main Street, and then we want a comma, Dallas, and then we want a comma, TX, 75212, and then we just flash fill it down, just like that. There we go, and we got it. All right, and so let me do that one more time. We just type in the first one, Main Street. This time, instead of doing a comma, let's hit Alt-Enter, which forces a line break. And then we'll go Dallas, comma TX, 75212, Enter, and we just flash fill it down. And now those are in the format that we set up in the first one. Okay. So let's undo that. 123 Main Street. Oh, you just want the city and state? And zip? Okay. Type in the first one, TX, and 75212, and flash fill it down. And we got it. Okay? So for those of you on 2013, that is a beautiful way to handle that. Yes, flash fill is worth the upgrade faux show. I agree. All right. And let's see, does it work on Excel for Mac? I don't know if this feature's in Excel for Mac, and if it is, I'm not sure which version.
It's not. It's not.
Okay.
But Mac has a new. Not sure if you're a Mac user yourself, Jeff. But Mac has a new sort of beta that's out that was supposed to be an equalizer for all the 2013 features. But I haven't seen it yet. So and it's not publicly out yet anyway. So so either way, the answer is no.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks. The great news for me and for you is that finally, starting with Office 2016, Excel is making the Mac and Excel and iPad and online versions the same look and feel, same design, features. And that's huge because I always get questions about Excel for Mac, what's this keyboard shortcut? And I just don't own a copy of that, so I'm just not familiar with it. But I'm thankful that Microsoft is addressing that going forward. So let me go ahead and close this down, and I just want to give you a couple of additional blog post references for additional data prep kind of thing. The Excel University blog has a couple of other things that are relevant to preparing data for use with QuickBooks. One of them is flatten data. Let me open up the blog and just take you to that post. Let me head over here. Okay, here's, if I go to blog, and if I just go to a search screen, I'm going to type flatten. And here we go. Here's the post. And this blog post takes you through the steps when an accounting system gives you data that is not flat. And by not flat, it means like Bayshore water is not filled down. That label is not repeated throughout the range. We can easily use an Excel trick to flatten it, which is to repeat all those labels. Here, so on the bottom screenshot, we have the name and account. These are all filled in. And flat data is how we want to work with it in Excel, because then we can use all the advanced features like filtering, subtotals, sum ifs, pivot tables, charts, graphs, all that kind of stuff. So we want to flatten it down. So if you're not familiar with the tricks for this, feel free to check out this post. It takes you through each and every step to do that. It's like a little 3 to 5 step process. While you're here, subscribe to the blog. Hit in your email address. I post once a week. You'll get my witty and intelligent posts delivered fresh to your inbox. And then the other one I wanted to show you about was finding the last sub-account from QuickBooks. Let me go ahead and do a search for QuickBooks. Okay, and here's another one. And the idea behind this one is that the features that we use today split everything, but if all we're really interested in is the lowest level sub-account, that can kind of be tricky with formulas. So this lays out all the alternatives, the approach, the functions that we're going to need to do this. It talks about all the functions, how to handle all the delimiters, all the way down. So and then what you are left with is just the lowest account. So feel free to check that out if that will be of assistance. And then the article list comparisons. Okay, you can grab a copy of all of my Excel articles that have been published here. Okay, and the recent one is comparing lists with ease. And the idea here is that sometimes we export something from one system, and then we export something from QuickBooks or another system, like the website or the CRM or the ERP system, and we just want to compare those two lists and say, what items in QuickBooks are missing from my ERP system? What customer IDs are in my ERP system and they're missing from, so we have these two lists we want to compare. Excel is awesome at list comparison, and so this article will take you through all the formulas, functions, and steps to do those kinds of list comparisons. All right, and then Hector, should I talk about the additional training resources at this point?
Yeah, Jeff, I actually, about 3 years ago, about 2 years ago or so, I think when Excel University got updated with all the Excel 2013 stuff, that's when I had joined it, and I liked it so much that I finally reached out to you, and you wanted to do this for me. So I would love for you to kind of walk us real quick through what Excel University looks like. I mean, there's many, many hours and many, many courses. Can you give us a quick idea of what it looks like once you're enrolled in your program?
Yeah, I will. So the format basically, let me flip over here. Okay, so now here I'm logged in to Excel University Volume 2, and it's online training. It qualifies under NASBA under the self-study, so it's at your own pace. The enrollment period is a year. And the way that it's set up is under this basic format. You click into the first module. I call the first module Week 1 because I designed it around an 8-week schedule, but you really work at your own pace. And then you watch a series of lecture videos. And these lecture videos, I have to say, I'm really happy with the way that they came together. I use, motion graphics. It's all scripted, so there's no stuttering, ums, uhs, and it's just concise, right to the point. And so you'd watch the lecture video. This one is 4 minutes and 31 seconds. I do it in bite-sized chunks. And then once you get through the lecture videos, then you work through them like hands-on. And so there's a series of different kinds of a variety of homework exercises. There's everything from polling questions to forum posts to blog research, and then the Excel exercises. You download them. I say exercise 1, do this, this, and this. You work through the exercises. When you're done with all that, you take the quiz. A passing score on the quiz, guess what? Unlocks the next level. You just leveled up. So it unlocks the next level, and then you can work through that way. And then there's a ton of additional resources, which is all the solutions videos, all the answer files for all the Excel exercises, index, glossary, learning objectives, all that kind of stuff. And so you just walk through like that, and then at the end there's the final exam, which unlocks your certificate of completion.
Hey Jeff, I got to cut you off because I got a lot of things to cover here too. So keep that screen up in there. So guys, take a picture of the screen if you want to take advantage of it. There's a discount that I asked Jeff to put together for us of 20%. And Jeff, I'd like to thank you very much for joining us here. I've been very excited about doing an Excel only, sort of an all Excel type of course here, and the nice thing is I wanted to get a sort of a person that was not in the QuickBooks world, like yourself, that you are in the accounting world, but you're 100% a Microsoft certified trainer. Is it safe to say that you make a living teaching, training, and making materials about Excel? Is that correct, Jeff? It's
my full-time thing, yep, and I love it, so absolutely.
Thanks a lot. So I'm gonna take over the presenter here, and Jeff, if you want to stick by and pick up some of the questions, are you gonna stick by, or do you have to run?
Yeah, I'll stick by.
Okay. So what I like to tell people is Jeff is one of the most highly skilled Excel users out there in the accounting world. If you want to ask some Excel questions and possibly get some answers for free, this would be a great time to do so. Okay, all right. Let me pull up my Jeff. Just assist me for a second because I'm not sure if Michelle's still on. Can you see my screen? Just want to double check that you can see my screen.
Yep. Hey Hector, yes, we can see your screen.
Oh, awesome, thank you. All right, so where are we here? Okay, perfect. So other thing I want to tell you is talk about keyboard shortcuts. So I did a couple of polling in our LinkedIn group and in our Facebook group, trying to really understand what is it that QuickBooks Power users, QuickBooks users were looking for into learning QuickBooks. The top answers we got was learning the shortcuts. That was a very common answer that we got. Another answer was I want to be able to clean data before importing, and I think some of the things that Jeff showed us covered that. Another common theme was I want to take QuickBooks data, export it to Excel, and make some meaningful reports like pivot tables. That was another really popular thing. And we had VLOOKUPs. There was a lot of people asking about VLOOKUPs. And I believe that all of those things, what Jeff covered, VLOOKUPs, pivot tables, that's all covered in your courses, right, Jeff? I just want to double check that all that stuff is in there.
It is. We go into great detail on VLOOKUP, pivot tables, working with QuickBooks data to create pivot tables. It's all in there, absolutely.
Exactly, thank you. But keyboard shortcuts in particular, that's an interesting one. So I'm going to show you, if you see the link that's there in the screen here, let me copy and paste that into the chat as well, just in case you want to kind of download it while I'm showing it here. So I'm going to show you. I put together this spreadsheet, and basically it's not really mine. I actually took it from multiple type of sources that are out there. So I put together this spreadsheet that you can download, and basically has all the Excel shortcuts, and they're sorted based on the type of shortcut that it is. So whether it's shortcut related to data entry, and there's an explanation of what it is. And then also in the same spreadsheet, just might as well do it, I put the QuickBooks shortcuts there as well. And I in the sources section, I put there where I got the information from. I basically just copy and paste it. So this has actually become my new cheat sheet. I kind of have this spreadsheet around the house, all these things. There's a lot of information. I know Jeff in Excel University has a shortcuts, a keyboard shortcuts slide, but basically narrowed down to the particular exercise. That way you can only practice a couple at a time. So that's the one thing I wanted to say about keyboard shortcuts. Let me now jump into show you one of my, let me pull the PowerPoint back up here. So I want to show you some Excel add-ins that I've used, or that I used currently over the years, that have helped me become more productive. So I'm going to talk about 3 particular add-ins, and I hope I have time to show all of them today. And like I said before, I'm so excited about Excel. I'm trying to jam-pack a bunch of information in there. If whatever we can't cover today, we would definitely have to go through a part 2. Anyway, PDF to Excel is an awesome tool. Basically, it allows you to take data that's already in Excel, in PDF, like a price list, for example, and it'll read the information and it'll convert it to Excel data. So adding that to some of the skills that Jeff shown, you can really do interesting things to import an item list or a price list into QuickBooks. Another awesome tool is called Keyrocket. Keyrocket is a tool that basically learns what shortcuts you are using, and it recommends the ones that you haven't used. And I'll show you how that works. It's kind of weird. The concept is very unique. And then I have another tool called QB to Excel, which basically takes data in QuickBooks and sends it to Excel without you having to do any actual work in QuickBooks. So we'll kind of show you. And there's a link to all 3 of them. Okay, so let me start with PDF to Excel. So let me jump into my Windows machine here. Okay, there we go. So let's say, for example, that I sell Apple products. So I basically downloaded this off the Apple website, and this is the item list that the Apple is giving me. These are all the products that I sell. There's a part number, there's a description, there's whatever that date means, and then the price. So most QuickBooks users will sit there and type this information or copy and paste line by line. That's absolutely ridiculous with today's technology. So I'm going to show you something that will kind of blow your mind because it's just really, really, really cool. And like I mentioned earlier, I do so much work with taking price lists and importing them into QuickBooks. When I stumbled upon this tool, I was so ecstatic about it. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the PDF spreadsheet that the PDF document that I showed you on the screen here. And this tool is called PDF to Excel. And basically, and it's literally this simple. I tell the program what range of data I would like to import. So let's say, for example, that I want to take this entire list of iMacs here and put them into Excel. So I basically click on here on the table button, and I basically draw up a table like this. And then after I draw up the table, the system will recognize the information, and I'll show you sort of a quick preview down here. Hope you can see on the bottom of how this information would look like when I export it to Excel. And I can do multiple tables. So that's the iMac table, and then I can grab the Mac Pro table, and I can do here. And I can actually select which ones I want. So I don't have to take them all. I can just take the ones that I want. And then basically, after this is done, I click up here where it says Conversion Format, and I click on Excel. And I'll basically grab this information, and I'll click on Convert, and do a spreadsheet with all that information flawlessly. And then afterwards, of course, we can implement some of the tools that Jeff has shown us. Okay, so going back to the example here before my computer froze, the example here on taking the PDF information and exporting it to Excel. So I'm going to show you kind of the easy way here is I'm going to save it to the clipboard, which basically means I can copy and paste. And then I'm going to open up my Excel spreadsheet and show you how we took that original PDF. So I want to just to show you some context here because we kind of interrupted in the middle of the conversion. So what I'm doing is I'm taking a PDF file like this that I either got directly from my vendor or I scanned. It can even read OCR. And then I'm using the PDF to Excel tool to select the table range of information. And then with this tool, I can now copy and paste this information into Excel as if this was natively an Excel data. So you can see I have all the information here. And then let's say I don't need this date. I can delete this date. And let's say for whatever reason, like Jeff was showing us with the text to columns, let me just make this a little bit bigger. Let's say for whatever reason, I wanted to separate all these slashes out and I wanted to make separate columns. Then easy. Then I will do the same thing that Jeff did here, which is basically select the entire data. And I want to just, every time there's a slash, I want to separate it into a different cell. And then run text to columns and then use that particular tool. So I'm going to click here on text to columns. And then I'll select delimited. It's exactly what Jeff said. I'm just kind of showing you a practical example of using actual real data that we got here from Apple. And then there we go. It would actually take this information, so you can do all sorts of magical things with this stuff. So I thought these two tools are particularly interesting, and I wanted to kind of show those. I am going to go ahead and show you a different tool called Keyrocket. So the way Keyrocket works, and I'll kind of show you here on the bottom, the way Keyrocket works is it keeps track of all the shortcuts that I've had the biggest opportunity of using. So for example, as you can tell here, is one of the functions that I use the most is create a new workbook. But I actually do it manually. So what I do is I go to File and I go to New. Now what happens is when I do that, down here in the bottom, it's warning me saying, hey, you missed an opportunity to use a shortcut. You should have used Control-N. So in the event that I use Control-N, the system down here tells you, hooray, you just learned the shortcut. And basically what it does is it learns which shortcuts you're using, and it notices which shortcuts you should be using, and it will just keep reminding you, and is the best thing to use to learn shortcuts. So I'll kind of just show you. I'm going to select this whole column here, and automatically it tells you, see, you should have used Control Spacebar. And I'm going to right-click here and delete, and the system says, see, you should have used Control minus. So it's actually pretty cool, or if I hit, for example, if I hit this button here for Select All, it'll tell me you should have used Control A. So it's really, really neat software, and it works for Excel, Word, Outlook, PowerPoint, and it's basically there to just kind of train you on shortcuts. So you can either print out a huge shortcut list like the one that I put together and send you the link, or you can use a trainer like this, and basically within, I would say within less than 30 days, you will learn 20 new shortcuts. Within a year, you will learn 100 shortcuts, especially if you're using Excel every day, because the system just kind of forces you to do so.
Oh, sure. Regarding the keyboard shortcuts, I definitely think one of the ways to quickly get a productivity boost is to figure out how to communicate with Excel as fast as you can. I mean, the faster I can tell Excel what to do, the faster I'll get my job done. And so keeping your hands on your keyboard to improve your speed is absolutely one of the big ways to do that. So that add-in looks cool.
And it's funny you mentioned that in some of the QuickBooks classes that we teach down here, there's a section where I teach people basically how to work the bank register without using a mouse. So I literally take the mouse away from them, and they kind of see me as one of those old school bad teachers, right? I literally take the mouse away from them and say, you learn how to do this with keyboard shortcuts. Learn how to use Tab. Learn how to use Shift Tab. All these things, and people tend to appreciate it at the end because at the end of the day, learning those shortcuts it just saves you so much time. It's just absolutely incredible. Okay, let me jump over to importing an item list into QuickBooks. And let me go ahead and close this. So the purpose of learning a skill like concatenating and text to columns and importing information from a PDF into Excel to then bring it into QuickBooks. After all, this is QB Power Hour, and what we're trying to do is ultimately help you do something in QuickBooks. So something that's very typical is we get a spreadsheet from a vendor, and we get basically an item list, okay? But something that's very common is we get sort of like a brief product description and multiple columns for size, color, amount, additional info, that sort of thing. So what I like to do is I'm going to go ahead and concatenate all this information, which is exactly what Jeff did, and then I'm going to import it into QuickBooks so you can see a real practical example of what you've learned today. So I'm going to go ahead and insert a column here, and then I'm going to use the concatenate formula. And I'll basically go ahead and put the description, and then I'm going to put comma, and then I'm going to put quote, space, quote, which basically just inserts a space between the two, and then I put comma and put the other cell there, and then do comma, quote, space, quote, comma, and then I'll bring, let's say it's just going to be this 3. And then I'll close parentheses, and then I basically concatenated these 3, and these 3 are going to be my new product description. So we'll put here description. There we go. And so basically this is what I'm going to import into QuickBooks. I'm going to go ahead and hide all these because I don't need them anymore. I'm not going to delete them because they're part of my formula. If I delete them, this whole thing will go haywire. So right now it's just a matter of putting those descriptions in there. The other thing I'll do is, let's say my vendor gives me their manufacturer's part number, but internally in QuickBooks, let's say for whatever reason, we add the first 3 digits of the product description and the manufacturer's part number, and we join it, and that's going to be our new item name. So I'll just use here item name, and then I'll use a couple of formulas here. So the first thing I want to do is I want to use the left formula, which basically grabs the text from left to right. So I'm going to use the left formula for this, and then put comma 3, and that basically just renders the first 3 characters. Okay, so that's the first part of it. The other piece is I want to concatenate. So what I'm looking is to concatenate this information. So I'm going to use concatenate here, and I want to concatenate that with, let's say, for example, a slash, and then the manufacturer's part number, and then I'll close parentheses, and that's going to give me, I guess, what's going to be my new item name in QuickBooks. Okay, there we go. So I don't need, so I got manufacturer's part number, item name, description, I got a cost, I got sales price, and I have to make sure that I also have income account, cost of goods sold account, inventory account, and very important, inventory part. And that's all going to make sense when we actually do the import. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and close it. And now I'm finally going to do something in QuickBooks. I know some of you were saying, hey, when is QB Power Hour going to do something about QB? So I'm going to go ahead and go to the File menu here, go to Utilities, go to Import, and go to Excel Files. Okay? And it tells you here you can also use Add Edit, and I've shown Add Edit in previous webinars, so I'm just going to focus on a different tool now. We're going to show the Advanced Exporting tool here, which is the one here called Advanced Import. Sorry, I said Export, Advanced Import. And then with the Advanced Import, I'll kind of show you the mechanics of how this works. In the background here, you can see an item list that basically doesn't have anything. It's a blank item list. So we're going to show you how that Excel item list is going to import into QuickBooks and how the mechanics of mapping works. So the first step here is I have to choose which is the Excel file. So I'm going to go ahead and pick my Excel file and hit Open. And then after the Excel file gets open, and you have to kind of give it a second for it to load, it's going to ask me which sheet, right? Because I could have multiple sheets. So this one just happens to be this sheet here called Split Data. And then the mapping is the important piece, because if QuickBooks doesn't know how to read the information, it cannot import it. So I'm going to go ahead and create mapping here and go to Add New. And then I'm going to give it a name, so I'll just call it New Item List or something like that. And then this will be saved forever, so if you have more Excel templates with information like this, it will import perfectly. So import type here, I'm going to select Item, right, because that's what I'm going to import. And then I have to hit some key elements here. So item type, you have to use that. That is not optional. So I have to have item type, and this is matched. So this is going to bring in inventory part, which is what we put in there. The item name, that's also a required field. So we have item type, and then we have item name. These two are required fields. I cannot skip these two. Income account, expense account, and asset account, those are also required fields. So I have to put all these here. So I'm going to map these based on what I have in QuickBooks here. So I'm going to map them together. And then everything else is optional. Cost, price, description, all the stuff is optional. These here are the core elements that I want to bring. But might as well bring the information, right? So I'm going to click description here, match it with description. And then there's also a purchase description, which is what goes on the PO. And I'm also going to go ahead and match that to description. So let's say, in this case, my sales description and my purchase description are the same, but you can import different if you want. If I was importing initial balance, I would do on hand, which I'm not doing at the moment. And then here's my cost. So let me go ahead and map my cost. And then let me map the price here with my sales price. And I don't really need anything else. Oh, there's manufacturer's part number. Almost missed that. That would be useful too. And then I'll hit save. So basically, that's how the mapping works. So I'm going to go ahead and click on preview to just kind of get an idea for what this is going to look like before I bring it in. And the preview kind of gives you a general idea of what this item will look like. So this will give you some confirmation that your mapping seems correct and there's no errors detected. So this should just work. So I'm going to go ahead and hit import. And then the minute I hit import, it tells me, hey, be careful, you should do a backup before, blah, blah, blah. I'll hit yes. And then it tells you how many were imported and how many had errors. And so if you have an error, we can save here the error log. Let me just save the error log to kind of give you an idea. Now, I actually don't know what error I committed. I have no clue. I didn't do that on purpose or anything. I should say I did it on purpose, but I didn't. I'm not sure what error I committed. So let me take a look at the error log here. To see exactly what went wrong, and it will tell you. So where is my error log? Okay, there it is. And then it tells me here that the expense account specified doesn't exist. Perfect. This is actually a great example of something that I failed to do before. So let me show you what the item list looks like now and kind of show you what I mean by this. Whenever I set up a sales account, a cost of goods sold account, an inventory account, we have to assume that these accounts actually exist in QuickBooks. If they don't, we're going to have a problem. So let me go into QuickBooks, and I'll go into the chart of accounts, and let me make sure that I'm creating my income account called sales, because that's what I'm mapping it to. And I have to create my cost of goods sold. Okay, so sales is there. Sales is good. And then I have to create my cost of goods sold account. Cost of goods sold account, and hit save and new. Okay, and then I have to create my inventory asset account. Now, most QuickBooks files that are already fully set up, they would have that, but in this case I just created one from scratch. So after doing that, and I'll close the Excel here, I should really have no issues importing it now. So let me just close that. I'll hit no here for the error. And then let's try this again. So file, utilities, import, Excel. And I'm actually kind of glad that we had that error because it pointed out something very important. It's kind of frustrating when you kind of don't know the nuances of this. So that's actually a very common thing where the account is wrong. And then I'll click on import. And then I'll hit yes. Yeah, I know I have to back up. Thank you. And then it could take a couple of tries here. Let me just make sure what the new error is here now. Of course, I'm doing this live now. I'm going to get a bunch of errors. One was nice. Two is too many. So let me load that information back in here. And there's my preview. So my preview tells me that the information is pretty complete. There's an income account called sales, expense account called cost of goods sold, inventory asset, there's my cost, manufacturer's part number. I think this should be okay. I'm not sure why I'm getting an error, so we'll go ahead and try this again. File, utilities, import, Excel files, and then we'll click on advanced import. And we'll go ahead and hit import, and then we'll look at the error log again. So the nice thing is you'll just keep getting error logs until you figure out what you did wrong. So let's open up the error log again and see what the new error is. Now, I love the fact that you actually get an error log per file, per item. So in this case, it says asset account, the asset account doesn't exist. So apparently the issue is I may have
Hector?
misspelled, yes.
You did misspell it. You put assets with an S. And
Wow.
people are very understanding. They see that and that you had an S on the end.
Can you believe that?
These people are paying attention.
Wow, that's awesome. I was going to sit here for hours trying to figure this thing out. Okay.
We didn't want to do that.
All right.
Hector,
okay. Yeah.
So Hector, I have a question for you, and I didn't prep you for this, so I hope I don't catch you offhand. When would you continue to use this feature as opposed to the new add and edit list multiples? Because you can copy and paste with that one. So
that's a great question. I'm glad you brought it up. So there's my import after I fix the account, and you can see all the information is there. So I will tell you when you would pick this one versus add edit. So when you're creating new assets, new items, brand new items, it actually should be no different. So if you use this tool or you use add edit, it will work either way. What I like about this tool is that it has preset mapping. So if you have a common spreadsheet that you go in there and you make changes to, this is going to be easier. So the problem with add edit, and I'll just kind of show you the issue with add edit, so I'm going to go to add edit, is that for me to make changes to an item, so when I go into my inventory items, in this case I may have to turn them on here, but when I import the items in here, it's great for copying and pasting new items. The problem that you have is that for updating, this is not so good because you can manually make changes here, but if you have to update in Excel and then bring changes in there, it's going to be a lot easier. So I'll just illustrate an example here. And this will be the best way to answer that question. So once I already have an item list, let's say that my sales price needs to change, and my sales price now needs to be, let's say, 50% markup over cost. So I would take my original spreadsheet if I have saved it, and I would, let me just close that. Let me open up my original spreadsheet here, and that should answer the question in a really good illustration. So if I take my original price list here, and my client is asking me, Hector, I need you to take the sales price and now multiply it times 1.5 the cost. So I'll go in here and do just a regular kind of Excel formula here. So multiply that times 1.5, and then I'll bring this down, and then I'll save it. Now what happens is I don't have to copy and paste. I don't have to try to match the names or the numbers. I don't have to do anything else in QuickBooks. I literally, and let me just show you, so this price is 1403. So I literally come in here and go to Utilities, Import Excel, and I'm going to go through the same exact motion, but now I'm going to get sort of a different messaging, and it would make a lot of sense once we do it. So I'm going to go through this motion here, load that spreadsheet again to make sure that the new changes are there, and I'm going to go into select the sheet and go to import, and now I'm going to get a new message that didn't happen before. The new message says, wait a second, now we're talking about duplicates. You already have this item list. At this point I can say, I know this is what I want to do. I want to replace the data with the imported data. So this is where it becomes really, really useful when you do a successful import through here. If you want to make price changes on the fly, you basically do this. And now going back into QuickBooks here, I open the item and I actually see the new sales price in there. So it's actually kind of awesome. All right, so Michelle, I hope that answered. So QB to Excel is something that I would like to show in future webinars. I know it's top of the hour, so I wanted to give you, so I spoke to the developer of PDF to Excel, and I said, hey, I'm going to do a quick demo of the software there. Can you give us a pretty aggressive discount for your software? Because it's a pretty big investment, but it pays off really quickly. So he agreed to do a 30% coupon that expires on April 15th. So there it is on the screen if you're interested. Keyrocket has a 14-day free trial. Check it out with the link below. it automatically discounts it to 20%. So I would strongly recommend that if you're going to purchase it, to save some money, because there's no other way you can save money on that. These coupons are not published. QB2 Excel is free. There's the link, and there's another really cool tool called ASAP Utilities, which obviously don't have time to show, but recommend that you check them out. And let me see. I shouldn't have anything else. Okay. So I'm going to now ask a polling question to kind of close this off, and I'll have Michelle ask me any other questions or add any color commentary before we wrap this up. Michelle, was there any other questions out there?
Well, one of the things that I was going to say, I saw a few questions come through on QBO, and can you do this in QBO? And, maybe depending on the answer to this question, we may want to include some more on Excel and QBO. You can import your lists into QBO. You can import the customers, the vendors, things like that. It is a little bit different. You can map those columns to the fields in QBO. So it's similar, but it's different. I mean, that's the way everything is.
Right. It's very, it's very, very different. First of all, as much as I have to say that I love QBO, it's just not nearly close as powerful as the desktop version, especially with the the combination between the copy and paste and the advanced import. So you can do some in QBO. I don't think it would be a bad idea to cover this in a future webinar. That's what the polling question is for, to kind of get an idea for, if we should do more of these, if we should just do them once per year, or should we do once per quarter. So great to have your feedback. What other questions were there, Michelle?
We had some questions for Jeff about military discounts. Somebody was wanting some military discounts there for Jeff. We also had a lot of comments that people really learned a lot with this. So people really like this. So somebody said, any idea why the inventory asset and cost of goods sold would change after we imported price and cost changes using an IIF import?
Well, that's probably because there's some sort of error in the IIF. It shouldn't change. It shouldn't change.
Yeah, I think you'd have to investigate what happened there. So.
Well, actually, that's an important question. So basically what happens is, if you do an IIF import, and this is the problem with IIF, there's no error checking like the way that we obviously saw me get 2 errors in a row. There's no error checking. So if the account name is different on the IIF, it's going to force create a new account in there, and it creates it as a bank account, which is crazy. So with IIF, you don't get that protection, that level of error, where with this import you do. So maybe that answers the IIF question.
And I would just caution people, too, before you're importing anything into a desktop file, back it up first. I mean, just in case something goes wrong, make a backup first.
Yeah, sure.
And so we did have some questions in here about that people want to know, again, about QBO and things like that. So we can cover, we normally do in these QB Power Hours, we normally do talk about QuickBooks Online as well. We wanted to hear from Jeff today, and so we allowed him to speak and help you learn more about Excel. But we will have more QBO stuff in upcoming webinars as well.
Right. I think the most important thing is you need to join the Facebook group, because this is how we know what people want. I'm there every day talking to people, understanding what is it that they're getting stuck with, what their needs are. So you need to join the Facebook group, join the LinkedIn group. Michelle mostly monitors the LinkedIn group, and both of us monitor the Facebook group. This is where you can add suggestions. This is where we can discuss. You can ask questions. The community is awesome at answering questions. So that's kind of an important thing to do, is you be part of the community, so we can also make this work best for you. That would be my last thing. And if Jeff, if you're still on, you got any last words?
Yeah, I just wanted to. I didn't get a chance to talk about the discount stuff. So there's the 20% off. The discount code expires on April 15th. It's QB Power Hour, no spaces, is the voucher code. Good for 20% off any product, including the bundle. So it really makes for some really affordable continuing education credit.
Yeah, we're going to send an email maybe in the next couple of days when this webinar gets fully uploaded to YouTube, and then we'll include all those discount codes for anybody that needs to buy it. So they'll have the opportunity to use that in there too. And I'm gonna update the PowerPoint slides to have that in there too. Sorry, I didn't have it on my slide. Michelle, was there anything else?
No, I just want to thank everybody, and I hear you on the QBO and importing stuff. We'll cover that in another one. But thank you guys all for joining us, and thank you, Hector and Jeff. It was a great session, and I hear you helped a lot of people. So thank you, everybody, and Hector and Jeff, thank you as well.
Okay, thank you. Bye, everybody. Happy tax season.